Good Monday morning. Well, we find one of the most beautiful stories in Scripture to me in Genesis 18. Now that Abraham's name has been changed, Sarah's has too. She's no longer Sarai. She's now Sarah, a mother of many nations, as God has called her. And we find Abraham sitting outside the door of his tent, Scripture says, in the heat of the day. And the Lord appeared to him by the oaks of the Mamre. I just want to pause here and say just one piece about this. Sometimes encountering the Lord is not convenient. Sometimes it requires something of us. This was the heat of the day, but Moses was exactly where he needed to be to encounter God. Don't be afraid of things that feel like sacrifice. God can meet you in the middle of that sacrifice. And that's what he did. He met Abraham this day, and he asks Abraham, he says this in verse 9, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" Now remember, we learned this back in Genesis 3. God doesn't ask questions because he doesn't know answers. God asks questions because he's kind of digging up into our own stuff. And Abraham said, "She's just in the tent." And God knew that. He knew she was in the tent. And Sarah was listening at the door. He said, "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son." And can't you see her just kind of peeking around the edge of that tent with her little nosy self out there trying to see what's going on with these strangers that have arrived in her home? And it said, "Now Abram and Sarah were old. They were advanced in years. The way of women had ceased to be with Sarah. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, 'After I'm worn out and my Lord is old, shall I have pleasure?' And the Lord said to Abraham, 'Why did Sarah laugh and say, shall I indeed bear a child now that I am old?'" See, God knows. He knew where Sarah was. He knew what was in her heart. And he came to speak to their greatest place of desire and need. Because remember, he had made a promise. He reiterated that promise on 4 different occasions. And now he's speaking to it in a very powerful way. And he does it this way by asking a question. Is anything too hard for God? Basically what he was saying is, are you going to dare to believe me? It had been 24 years up to this point from the first promise to now. That's a long time to wait for the promise of God. Many of us, we've given up after year 1 or year 2, or we would have given up after year 5 or maybe year 10 or surely year 15, but 24. And he comes and he challenges them with a question after they have waited this long. Is anything too hard for me? Friends, I do not know what your situation is, but this is what I do know. Nothing is impossible with God. I don't care how dead your body feels. I don't care how dead your dreams feel. I don't care how dead your relationships feel. I don't care how dead your children may seem, your marriage may seem, your job may seem, your finances, your health. I do not care. Nothing is too hard for God. And what God was asking Abraham and Sarah in that moment is, do you believe this? Do you believe this? I'm coming back in a year and you're going to have a child. Nothing is too hard for me. But I am challenging you to dare to believe me in this. Oh, how I wish God had my timetable. There's so many things I would speed up and change and do differently. But my thoughts are not his thoughts. My ways are not his ways. They are past finding out. But this is what I will trust. I will trust the truth in this promise. Nothing is impossible with my God. And nothing is ever dead as it may seem, that the resurrection power of Jesus Christ cannot raise it again. Someone needed to hear that today. Nothing is impossible.